hope my screen doesn't time out. No, my screen times out. This being miserable. Hey, there it is. Welcome to the 2:30 show. In this edition, I will be throwing together my story here in just a moment, actually, so I could get this done on time. So here's today's date. And thank you all for coming to watch. And there were no comments on the last one as of the moment right before I started writing the script. So if one's gotten added, I will add it on to my little news story. But someone else is going to go ahead and take the reins. Who wants it? $15 Fortnite card. Who won it?
I'll go first.
All right, there's no Fortnite card.
That's okay. Yeah! All right, so I actually wanted to go first because this is a pretty relevant and interesting topic for me. So Baldur's Gate has its final patch. Sad day. Patch 8, the final patch for Baldur's Gate, has been released by Larian Studios, which features new features like cross-play, photo mode, and split screen across all the devices that Baldur's Gate's on, with the inclusion of a modding toolkit as well. Larian has been committed to improving the player experience across these patches, with this final one featuring 12 new subclasses. And in my recent playthrough, at the very end, I actually heard wind of this new update coming out, and some of these new subclasses are really, really OP and cool. So, although I just finished my own playthrough, I definitely think I will be going back next time and trying them out. Making another playthrough, and updates like this definitely make, another playthrough feasible for a lot of people, especially if you played on a much older patch, on an older playthrough. And it's just cool that they're adding these extra features and classes into the game with large patches like this one, which will actually add a new coat of paint to the game, which might make it a little more interesting the next time you come back around. With this last patch, it is sad to know that Larian has no plans for a new Baldur's Gate game and will likely return to Divinity or another new just start to a game. So, still knowing the fun attitude of their CEO, he still might have played us for fools and plans to revive Icewind Dale, another CRPG in the Faerun universe, just to surprise us. So, what games do you typically replay? Now, obviously, the main ones, of course, are going to be like Minecraft. I'm actually in my 2-week Minecraft phase right now. We have officially made it past 2 weeks, so that's really cool. We're going to try and stick through with it. That's your obviously typical replay game. But I'd say my main story-based game that I do replay all the time is Red Dead 2. I've gone through 2 full playthroughs of that game, and I do 100% plan on replaying through it another time, a third time on PC this year. So that's my plan for this year for my single-player game that I like to replay. It's even though obviously I know the story in the back of my head, it's still a fantastic game, and I'm excited to experience it.
Okay. Is this thing on?
The 5060 Ti arrival is incoming. I actually think, I could be wrong, but I think at the time of releasing this video, the 5060 Ti should be out, so you guys will know more. But 5060 Ti is launching at an MSRP of $379, which I have heard for the 8GB model, and then for the 16GB model at $430. So basically about a $50 difference for double the VRAM. Might actually be worth it for quite a bit of people out there, especially with newer programs and games utilizing more VRAM. But the 5060 will also launch at some point, for some reason in May, almost like a month later. We don't know why. We know that there was a delay. It's kind of strange because the 5060 you would think is pretty much the same card as the 5060 Ti, just a little bit underclocked, but the fact that there's delays makes me think that's a much different card for some reason. That'll only have 8 gigs of VRAM. It's going to be just like the last 4 generations, three generations. The 2060 that had 6 gigs, 3060 had 8, and then the 4060 had 8, and now the 5060 will have 8. So they're just, NVIDIA's like 8 all the way. It should be GDDR7 though, I believe. But they're promising high RTX 5060 frame rates in a variety of games thanks to multi-frame gen. NVIDIA pushing frame gen again. GPU Maker has tested some games at 1080p supposedly, with some max frame gen levels. The CPU pairing is interesting, a 9800X 3D for their 5060 testing. So 1080p max settings. So that's absolutely maxed out the games, probably with ray tracing. Half-Life 2 RTX 130 FPS. I know that demo is very hard to run. Hogwarts Legacy 234 FPS. Alan Wake 2 114 FPS. Black Myth Wukong 130. That's pretty impressive. Cyberpunk 2077 at 148. Yeah, the Black Myth one sticks out to me because I've been playing that 1440p on my 5080 at very high settings, so not maxed out. I'm getting 120 to 130 FPS, so 130 for a much cheaper card is pretty cool. I think McAllister was doing something new. As far as my own knowledge goes, what I'm allowed to talk about, everything in this looks pretty accurate. I don't know about the 1080p testing as far as FPS goes with these games specifically, but I do know that it seems, I think the 5060 and 5060 Ti will be good cards if you have the right expectations. I definitely think that you need to not expect this card to be way better than the previous gen. I would only expect about 5 to 15% more performance in all honesty, and the biggest thing is availability and pricing. If we can get these cards at what they're saying the pricing will be, not the worst thing in the world. What GPU release do I remember most fondly? Honestly, well, so like I was never the latest and greatest owner, until recently with the 5080, I guess, but I never really had like nice GPUs, but then I did pre-order one GPU in my whole life, and that was I think it was the R9 380. It was a 2 gig card, literally 2 gigs of VRAM. I had the option to get the 4 gig, but just couldn't afford it. I think it was like $219. It felt pretty expensive at the time. And it's funny to think about for $219. I think I could play most games at like medium to high settings at the time that had just came out, but 2 gigs of VRAM definitely was not great back then even.
Mine.
Hey guys, what's up? So welcome to the casting couch. PlayStation 5s are getting price hiked. Oh boy. Sony has raised the price of most of its PlayStation 5 console hardware in the UK, Europe, Australia, New Zealand by 10 to 15%, blaming a challenging economic environment. With rising US import costs tanking thanks to tariffs, likely contributing factor, an equivalent price rise in the US is probably on the way. Sony manufacturers... What is happening over here? There's some weird stuff. Sony manufactures the majority of PlayStation 5 hardware in China, now subject to 145% tariffs on imports into the US, and game consoles aren't included in the pause on some tariffs announced on Friday. This is the second time Sony has hiked the prices of the PS5 in most of these markets after doing the same in August of 2022. That time, Sony similarly blamed high global inflation rates as well as adverse currency trends, but specifically noted that it wouldn't raise prices in the US. There's no such confirmation this time around. If you had to name an exact dollar amount that you would make people swap from PS5 to PC, what would you bet? I would say if the PS5 was the price of what the PS5 Pro is, which is like $700, it's at that price point where you could build a really good gaming PC for that price. So I think once it gets to like the $800 range, yeah, people are going to switch. Like, the people who are even diehard would definitely switch to that price point.
Rolling. He's going. I'll start doing cake songs. So I lied right to y'all's face. We do have comments. I think YouTube Studio, in fairness, lied to me. I had an old webpage up and refreshed it. We not only had comments, we almost had 5 unique comments, which has been the goal. But you'll need to ask on what you'd like the reward for getting to 5 unique comments will be. You can ask for whatever. And if it's feasible, we might do it. Mostly just ask for things that are odd to record, and maybe that's what we'll do. Zeno Rose, I like the concept of the show. Hope it gains momentum. Oh, I do too. Looking forward to see the new Bungie game marathon from RV Anime Collector. The new Bungie game marathon. Are they doing some sort of marathon? Maybe I'm out of touch with last week's self who knew something more about Bungie. You know, I used to love me some Halo. I was definitely in the Halo camp between Halo and COD. Bungie's making a game called Marathon.
It's an extraction shooter.
Okay, cool. Extraction shooter. I'm not the biggest extraction shooter guy, but with Bungie giving it a shot, I'd love to play a game where I can't run. So let's hope it's a good time. This thing looks super cool. Reminds me of Horizon Zero Dawn. I think this is Mike Mann. He's referencing, I think he replied to his own comment. He's referencing the hydrogen-powered horse. It's in the thumbnail of the last video if it's linked down below, wherever you might see it. And then the last one is Otaku Underground-Home. I'd like to imagine that you have like a Google Home set up and you needed to dash home it so it was easier to use. Is PoE worth playing? Assuming Path of Exile is what you're referring to, considering that last time I definitely said Pillars of Eternity or wrote that down in the script. Pillars of Eternity, unsure, haven't played much of it. But as for Path of Exile, a lot of people really like it. I've played 2, had a pretty good time. I can't say it's as like beginner user-friendly as Diablo, so if you've never played a title like that before, I submit to you, maybe nostalgia is tinting my glasses, but there's a game called Fate, then Fate 2 that had the remastered collection come out on Steam, and boy was that like the only dungeon crawler you could install on every computer, and it would work. That's a fun time. I'm a personal fan of dungeon crawler type games in the right mood. Played through Diablo 2, 3, 4, I believe so, because I have the box for the original Diablo 3. And then time for my story. Sorry I had to get through those comments because I lied to you all and said there weren't any. We've done 4 stories, 4 comments, and what my story's about is Draw Steel. I'm very excited for this. I wanted to kind of report on it now before it comes out. Hopefully I can get a chance to play it again before it's fully out and done. But there's no real release date, but the estimated shipping date for Backer Kit is June 2025, and this is for Matthew Colville or MCDM Studios tabletop RPG. Draw Steel is a high fantasy game. It will release with one player creation book, like you have your player's guide in D&D, and one monster book for the DM. However, the main core book will have all the rules for running the game, which you should do, and all the rules for playing in the game, which you should do. I think it's really great to try out new games. So if you've been a fan of D&D and you're looking for something new, I'm going to try to throw some features at you that I think were very fascinating the time that I played Draw Steel. And check out Toasty DIY. I also did some videos about it on there. But the general idea of Draw Steel that I think is very cool is, number one, if you've played D&D and you hit a goblin and you critically hit and you deal 80 damage to one goblin because, house rules, however it is, but you're level 1, only one goblin dies. And that's kind of fun. But imagine a world where you rolled and that damage carries over to every goblin within 5 feet. So that you could swing, and if you deal more damage, then you will kill a goblin and then injure the next one. They also move as posses or little groups instead of just one at a time, which makes the combat a lot easier to track because I don't have to track goblin 1, 2, 3. All my goblins fire. All my goblins either, start to hit or don't hit, whatever. It's way easier to run for the DM side. And the players get to be a lot more reactive with these triggered actions, which are pretty cool. So if you play Magic the Gathering or any game where you can act during other people's turns, it keeps it a lot more fluid and fun than I take my 6-second turn, I take my 6-second turn, because it may be 6 seconds in game time, but as far as sitting at that table, it's not that. So highly recommend Draw Steel. If you subscribe to the Patreon, I believe you can actually get access to the early PDFs and play through a level 1 campaign. Power scaling wise, level 1 in Draw Steel is around level 3 in D&D. In case you're really a fan of low fantasy, it's not that. This is going to be high fantasy. So I'm very excited for it, and I will report more when it comes out. I just saw that the June shipping date was still written on the website, so I thought maybe I'd let you all know in case you want to try it out on the Patreon first. Tell us your thoughts down below, and I'd be happy to talk to you about it, and then we can see when it comes out how it looks. I'm tempted to get that really $250 edition with special hardcovers because I once begged Matthew Colville for a job and told him that was the wrong age because I was too nervous, and he said, I think you'll do fine. And now, here we are on YouTube. Thank you all for watching this edition of the 230 Show. Actually, I think we're missing one special boy who's going to come over here and do one last story for you.
Hi, chat. How you doing? Do you guys trust AI? Because I don't. Pew Research Center, self-described nonpartisan American think tank, released a report last week showing a stark divide in AI perception by both people building it and people using it. 1,000 AI experts and over 5,000 U.S. adults seem to have varying opinions. Roughly 3/4 of AI experts think the technology will benefit them personally. Only 1/4 of the public says the same. Experts believe AI will make jobs better. The public thinks it will take them away. A separate study released this week by Gallup and the Walton Family Foundation finds that Gen Z is highly engaged with AI tools like ChatGPT or Copilot. 79% report using them, and almost half do so weekly. But that doesn't mean they trust it. In fact, Gen Z is more likely to say AI makes them feel anxious, 41%, than excited, 36%. Just 27% say it makes them feel hopeful. If you could poof away AI and it would never return until you were dead and gone, would you? I think that AI has its purposes. Me personally, I think that anytime I see AI advancement in photo generation, I'm like, oh, one step closer to not having a job because I do graphic design. But on the other hand, I do see the appeal of other things that it can do when it's better. I feel like AI right now is not the best. Like college kids using it for their essays, and it's just blatantly plagiarizing and giving them the wrong answers, and they're like, "Oh, clip it and ship it."
But when I have a calculator in my pocket?
Yeah. What if? But it's experts believe AI will make jobs better because it makes the experts are experts for a reason. They want things streamlined and efficient. The public wants to be employed and have a purpose. So I feel like that's where the main divide is. A lot of people do use ChatGPT and these AI tools, but for very stupid things. I feel like AI has some power behind it. Yeah, it's causing deforestation and killing the environment. So, if you're making Studio Ghibli pictures, shame on you. But if you're using it for very advanced things that are purposeful in life, maybe it's okay. Basically, if you use it for stupid stuff, you're stupid.
Poof or no poof?
Poof!
Oh, he's judged. The hammer has spoken. All right. If you want to see this goose survive, comment down below. Otherwise, thank you all so much for watching. We really appreciate you all taking the time to check out our little silly news show. Hope you enjoy it and that it brings some news to you. Any suggestions are clearly welcome, and thank you all for watching. Peace out.